Picked this up today. This is a Bad Cat
Meow.
AC-230. For those of you who don't know, this is a very clear copy of the classic Ampeg Dan Armstrong Lucite guitar. If you've never seen a guitar that looks like this in your life, well, one of the most standout features is, of course, that it is see-through. It's made out of a clear, polished acrylic, and it's very, very heavy. But the list of famous guitarists that have used this guitar is basically a who's who of the greatest musicians of the 20th and 21st century. The original run of these was made for a very limited amount of time between 1969 and 1971. And apparently, one of these guitars made its way into the hands of the likes of Greg Ginn from Black Flag, Keith Richards, Joe Perry, Paul McCartney, John Frusciante, Ace Frehley, Matt Bellamy, Tom Petty, Mike Campbell, William Duvall, Joe Walsh, Josh Homme, and that's kind of it. Nobody else of notable mention. Okay, fine, I admit, I'm completely obsessed with Foo Fighters and the guitars that Dave Grohl used throughout his career. But in fairness to me, the guy has pretty good taste in guitars. And it never fails. Anytime I'm trying to show off my collection of Foo Fighters inspired guitars, there's always one guy in the comments that says, "Oh, but you don't have the clear one." So I found somebody who was selling this used on my Facebook marketplace, and it was a deal that was too good to pass up. And I understand this isn't one of the original Ampegs, but the prices for those are a little steep. So for something that amounts to a novelty guitar, I thought, yeah, let's take a chance on it. Now, eagle-eyed viewers might notice something a little strange about this guitar. What are these wires and tabs and things that are seen through the body of it? Well, apparently the previous owner of this guitar decided that it would be a really neat trick to scotch tape a bunch of LED lights on the back of the guitar so that when he's playing in his bar band, it lights up. It's a neat effect, I guess. Anyway, my goal with this video is to take this guitar on as a little project, and what we're going to do is strip it of some of its parts, definitely take these LED lights off. I already have a Gibson pickup that I'm planning on replacing this stock Bad Cat humbucker with, and we might have some fun with the wiring here, because you may notice that it's a single pickup guitar, but it has a three-way switch. The rest of the controls on this guitar are pretty self-explanatory. You got a master volume and a master tone. And did I mention it's heavy? Man, this clear acrylic material that they're using is not light. This thing is a small guitar and it weighs probably close to 10 pounds. Speaking of small guitars, you might notice by me holding it, it looks absolutely tiny. I mean, this is minuscule. It looks like a short scale guitar, but it's actually the normal size for one of these. And from all the research I've done into these Bad Cat copies, this is about the same size as the Dan Armstrong guitars. The only reason it looks so weird in my hands is because I'm really, really tall. Taking a look at the rest of the specs on this thing, it has a maple neck, it's bolt-on, and just like the original Ampegs, has the same neck heel design, has a wooden one-ply pickguard here. Looks just like the real Ampegs, but this kind of goofy looking Bad Cat decal needs to go. So we're gonna try and get rid of that. As far as the bridge goes, I'm actually surprised to see this is like an upgraded design as to what the originals had on them. The closest thing I could compare an original Dan Armstrong bridge to is like one of those old Dan Electro guitars with the little wooden saddle. Not ideal for intonation. And this is a full-on wraparound with fully intonatable saddles. So that's kind of cool. I'm hoping that with a decent setup and maybe some heavy strings, this guitar is gonna sound really good. So without further ado, let's get it onto the workbench. Okay, the first thing we gotta do, we gotta get those lights off of there. Oh my God. I'm not one to yuck somebody's yum, but whoa. Scotch tape on the back of the guitar was not having it. Those gotta go. Thank God he didn't use something stronger than Scotch tape, because this was able to peel off pretty easily and didn't leave any residue. Now that we got those out of there, let's take a look at this body. One major difference that I forgot to mention earlier is that the original Ampeg Dan Armstrong guitars had a swappable pickup interchange system, where you could actually slide the pickup out and replace it with one of their specially designed pickups that was meant to just clip into the back. So on the real Dan Armstrongs, you can see a cutout of the guitar where you could slide that pickup out. Most of the copies out there of this model don't include that. So this is just a regular pickup drilled right into the top of the body with 4 set screws and a pickup ring. One of the other cool features about having a clear body is that you can actually see all the electronics and the wiring through the back. This is an early indication to me that I need to be extra diligent about my soldering, because I'm gonna be looking at my disgusting solder job through the back of this guitar every time I pick it up. One of the first thoughts I had when I picked this up was that I was gonna want to replace the tuners. And looking on the back of this, they're stamped with the Bad Cat logo. From what I can tell, these little mini tuners are actually pretty decent, so I think I might just leave them on for the time being. It's always something I can replace down the road. This is a 2-piece maple neck. You can see the scarf joint right up there where the headstock is attached to the rest of the neck. One of the other things we're gonna have to take off of this guitar is that hideous cat graphic that they have silk screened on there. I'm okay with leaving the Bad Cat logo on the pickguard because I'm not trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. I don't mind that it's a copy, but that cat is hideous and needs to go. So first things first, we're gonna get our drill out and start taking the screws off so that we can remove the pickguard. And I forgot to charge the drill again. So we're gonna be doing this with a screwdriver. Here we can see just how far the neck extends into the body past the fretboard, and that's done exactly the same as on the Ampeg model, and it's to give us that upper fret access. This guitar has 24 frets, and they're all easily accessible due to the double cutaway design and the fact that that neck is set really deep into the body. Here is our current stock wiring with the 3-way switch and the 2 mini pots. You can see our Tune-O-Matic combo wraparound bridge. This doesn't look too bad either. Down the road, this is another component that I might want to replace, but for the time being, I don't see anything particularly wrong with what's on it already. So we got all our parts stripped off of the pickguard, and God, I just want to get rid of that stupid cat so bad. I'm not exactly sure how that's put on there. I'm thinking that it's just like a silk screen, so my first step is to try and use some acetone. This is some pretty hardcore stuff, so I'm thinking it's gonna melt right through it, but if it doesn't, option B is to use a razor blade and just try and gently scrape it off of the top without doing too much damage to the pickguard, because it's made out of real wood. And if the razor blade doesn't work, we pull out the big guns, 320 grit sandpaper. So you can see with this terribly set up camera angle that I've got a little bit of the acetone on a piece of paper towel, and wow, that's coming right off. Like, a lot faster than I expected. It's just eating straight through it. Unfortunately, the acetone works a little bit too well, and I think there's a super light, maybe rubbed oil finish on the pickguard that it's also taking off. So I'm going back through with some steel wool and some light grade sandpaper to just try and smooth it back out, and then I'm hitting it with some lemon oil and just kind of buffing it to give it a little bit more of the sheen back. Doesn't look too bad, but you can see that over the years the ink from the cat has kind of sunk into the wood and there's a little bit of a shadow left over, but it's all right for me. Okay, so let's talk about the wiring. Now, again, like I said earlier, this is a 1 pickup guitar with a 3-way switch. Now, traditionally in the Ampeg models, that 3-way switch gave you 3 different options. So position 1 bypasses the volume control. This sends the pickup straight to the output jack, and the intended use for this is when you have the volume control enabled, you set your rhythm volume a little bit lower, and then you can flip to that first position, and when you go to do a solo, you flip straight over to it and it jumps straight up to 10. You don't have to worry about turning it up, and you can flip back and forth between your rhythm and solo sound. The second position, the guitar functions as normal. Both the volume and tone controls function the way they're supposed to. And then in the third position, it bypasses the tone control. But the wording here is a little confusing because what it means by that is it actually sends the entire signal through the capacitor. So it's essentially if you had turned your tone control all the way down and creates a dark circuit. This guitar, however, does not have that. And looking at the wiring, it is a 4-lead conductor wire pickup, so I can only assume that what they've done here is made it so that in the middle position, the pickup acts as a humbucker. And then on either side positions, it's splitting the coil, and you can either use the front or the back coil depending on where the switch is set. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, so we're gonna try and find a way to incorporate that switch in a different way. But before we do that, we're gonna get the pickup out of there. Nothing against Bad Cat instruments, but I have a feeling that humbucker's not gonna sound that great. And I have this extra Gibson humbucker laying around. It's stamped with an N, and it also has the impedance listed on it, which is 7.75k ohms, which in terms of humbucking pickups go is not the hottest one, but that's okay because I find that pickups with a super high output tend to sound a little muddy when you're trying to play clean. Over the years, I've developed a taste for slightly lower output humbuckers. So here's the potentiometers that we have in the guitar. These are your standard stock El Cheapo import mini pots. They're not great, they don't have a really great taper, not the best sound quality to them, and we're looking to soup this up a little bit. So what I have here are some Gibson branded CTS 500K pots. These are the big Mac Daddy of all guitar potentiometers, and I've also added an orange drop capacitor, which is going to give us a little bit better sweep on our tone control as well. My original plan was to use the three-way switch for a different purpose and use a push-pull pot on the volume control to use as our coil split for the guitar. But unfortunately, I found out that the push-pull pot that I got from the guitar store is too tall to fit into the guitar cavity, and it was bottoming out, and so the pickguard wouldn't sit flush on the body again. So we're gonna have to stick with our stock guitar potentiometers here, just a regular volume and a tone. The threaded shaft on these CTS pots is a little bit wider than the small mini pots, so I'm using a reaming file to open up the holes on the pickguard a little bit to accept the new potentiometers. One of the other components that I always switch out whenever I'm dealing with one of these cheapo copy guitars is the output jack. This isn't just for Chinese copies, this is for Epiphone, Ibanez, Squier, whatever. A Switchcraft output jack is like $6 and they're super high quality and they'll never fail on you. And I always just pop one of those in and I've got a whole bag of them. Now we're ready to start getting this wired up. And I had to make a crucial decision here as to what to do with that three-way switch. And as much as I would like to have a coil splitting capability on this guitar, I thought the easiest thing we could do is just wire this up to be a kill switch. What I've done is just wired the switch in line with the output jack so that on either the front or back position, it cuts the signal, and in the middle position, the pickup is on. I did a little bit of online research to try and find a schematic where we could figure out the best way to use this three-way switch as a coil split, but didn't really come up with any answers that were super suitable. If there's any guitar nerds out there in the comments that want to tell me what the best way to wire this up, feel free to leave it in the comments and we might do an update video and have some fun playing with these controls in the future. For now, I'm getting the pickguard screwed back on and I'm putting some new knobs on and we're ready to replace the strings and do a setup. Got some trusty D'Addario 10-52s here. This is what I use on all of my guitars. I like the heavier low end for if I want to drop tune this thing, but having 10s on top is nice for doing leads and solos and stuff. Once I get those new strings on there, I take this over to my recording desk and tune it up and double check that I've wired everything correctly. Which luckily I have. And then we're gonna take it back over to the bench where I can use my fine tuner to check the intonation and make sure that's all set. And here you have it. This is the state that it's currently in. We've got our Gibson humbucker here. We got our three-way kill switch now. Again, not the most efficient way to do this, but given what I had on hand, it works fine for me. Huge improvement with the pots right away. These have a much better sweep on them. The sound quality is not as buzzy. There was like a 60 cycle hum that I thought was from the ground wire that went to the tailpiece post lug was disconnected or something. No, it was just really, really crummy pots were making it sound buzzy. And you can see my fine soldering job in the back there. And yeah, it's set up really well. The neck was straight. I mean, it needed a little neck adjustment once I put those heavier strings on, but no fret buzz or anything. Intonated just fine. The tuners were great. I'm actually really impressed with the Bad Cat tuners. Yeah, this thing's solid, man. I mean, this is like a riff machine. I mean, it's a one pickup guitar Like just bare bones, heavy as hell. Yeah, I think the best thing to do right now is just shut the hell up and play it, because that's what you guys are all here for now, right? You want to hear what it sounds like. Now, unlike most guitar YouTubers, when I do a sound demo, I don't like to just play an open G chord on a clean setting and then play a G power chord on a distorted setting. I like to hear what these guitars sound like in the context of a song. And in this case, it's a one pickup riff machine. So let's write some riffs. So there you have it, the Bad Cat AC-230, the Dan Armstrong Ampeg guitar clone. If you can find one of these and it's inexpensive, pick it up, man. These rule. If you're looking for a guitar like this, I can't recommend it enough. Now, as of the date of recording this, I checked the Amazon listing where you could buy these. Of all places, it was available on Amazon. I think they retailed brand new for like 370 bucks. Unfortunately, the Amazon listing is sold out right now, so hopefully Bad Cat will be stocking these again. If you can find them anywhere else, I'd say go for it. I really dig this guitar. Like I said, leave it in the comments. If you think we should do something else with this wiring, I'm open to suggestions. I'm looking to get kind of weird with this. I'm gonna get real weird with it. So yeah, whatever you think, let me know. Also, in the interest of full transparency, I should mention that all of the music in this video was written and performed using that guitar. So that's kind of cool, right? Please, if you're enjoying these videos, give me a subscribe, give me a like. I'm trying to do more of these long form videos and get my production level up. But I don't want to just limit myself to doing these guitar review videos. I've got a lot of ideas for doing tutorials on recording and stuff, songwriting stuff. I love talking about this kind of junk, and I love making videos about it. So if you're enjoying any of this content, please, it would mean a lot to me if you give me a subscribe, and thanks for sticking around. We'll see you in the next one.